Welcome to the CCE's mini workshops on community-engaged learning for faculty and staff. As part of a 5-part series, video number 1 is an introduction to service learning. The Civic and Community Engagement Office offers a number of in-person workshops throughout the year. These workshops provide opportunities to have connected conversations about your course and helps us to build a community around service learning and community-engaged learning at Buffalo State College. Workshop opportunities are announced in the daily bulletin, posted on the CCE website, and communicated in our Faculty Connection monthly e-newsletter. For more community-engaged faculty resources and development opportunities, please go to our website to learn more. During in-person workshops with faculty and staff, one of the very first things we encourage is for participants to think about what strategies are they currently using that work well in their classrooms. Do you facilitate small group conversations? Do you utilize individual projects? What about research? What are you currently integrating into your course that could be replicated or transformed into a service learning project? This graphic captures some of the ideas that past participants have come up with during in-person workshops. For example, many participants talked about collaboration and teamwork, which is especially important in a service learning and community-engaged experience. The elements of effective pedagogy captures many of the things that are probably coming to your mind and have been demonstrated through service learning and community-engaged learning research. Some of the best practices include making the experience personal, allowing students to integrate their own life experiences into the classroom, opportunities for collaboration and group work, and of course providing active learning experiences, which is probably the most relevant as it relates to community-engaged learning and service learning. We have found that these approaches are very helpful when faculty are working with students. Research also supports service learning as part of a high-impact practice. This diagram is from the Association of American Colleges and Universities and captures the different types of high-impact practices. You can see our little slice of the pie, which represents service learning and community-based internships. Here at Buffalo State, we are SUNY's urban engaged institution. What does that mean? It means that we have many ways and many opportunities to collaborate and partner with our community organizations to meet community identified priorities, while also providing our students with hands-on applied forms of learning that allow them to explore our amazing urban environment here in the city of Buffalo. These opportunities help our students develop a sense of civic responsibility. Here are just a few examples of some of the terms that are being used. Community-engaged learning and service learning, community-engaged research, community-engaged scholarship, civic engagement, and community service. To further demonstrate our commitment as an urban engaged institution, since 2017, Buffalo State College has implemented a civic action plan and works to deepen the culture of community engagement across the institution and expanding efforts to strengthen partnerships, scholarship, and community impact. The Civic Action Plan Implementation Committee developed terms and definitions that clarify how we frame our language as a campus community when referring to this work. These terms and definitions are available on our website, as well as our CCE Faculty LibGuide, which also has valuable resources on service learning best practices, research, scholarship, and professional organizations. We hope that by identifying our terms and definitions, having a common language and understanding across campus will help us discern the differences between the words we use. Hopefully, it will help us to be more intentional and clear in how we communicate with each other. Service learning, a balanced approach to experiential education. Back to the high-impact practices, there are a lot of ways to engage students in the classroom. But what makes service learning particularly exciting for students is this collaboration or balanced approach between the community partner, the student, the course, and the faculty member. So you'll see on one side we have volunteerism. Volunteerism is the engagement of students in activities where the primary emphasis is on the service being provided and the primary intended beneficiary is clearly the service recipient. On the other side, internships are really focused on the learning for the student. The student is the primary beneficiary of this particular activity. Climbing up the ladder, again on the left we have community service. Community service is the engagement of students in activities that primarily focus on the service being provided, as well as the benefits the service activities have on the recipients, like providing food for our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness during the holidays, for example. Students receive some benefits by learning more about how their service makes a difference in the lives of the service recipients. At the top, we have service learning, and it is the balance between the two, right in the middle, between the focus and the primary intended beneficiary is where a true collaboration exists. Service learning programs are distinguished from other approaches to experiential education by their intention to equally benefit the provider and the recipient of the service, as well as to ensure equal focus on both the service being provided and the learning that is occurring. Here is our definition that we utilized primarily at Buffalo State College. Service learning is a credit-bearing educational experience in which students participate in an organized service activity that meets identified community priorities and reflects on the service activity in such a way as to gain further understanding of course content, a broader appreciation of the discipline, and an enhanced sense of civic responsibility. So let's walk through this a bit. Service learning is a credit-bearing educational experience, meaning it's part of a course. It's not a standalone volunteer experience. It's an academic experience in which students participate in an organized service activity. The word organized is in orange, meaning it's structured by you as the faculty member and your community partner in collaboration to meet both the community priorities and the learning outcomes that you have for the course. So moving along in the definition, an organized service activity that meets identified community priorities, as we just talked about, and reflect on the service activity in such a way as to gain further understanding of course content, a broader appreciation of the discipline, and an enhanced sense of civic responsibility. Again, so reflection is a key aspect highlighted in purple in the definition. It's an opportunity for students to incorporate what they're doing in the community directly with the course content, so that we're bringing that experience back to the course, relating it to the theory and applying the concepts to the experience they're having outside of the classroom. And of course, we want them to deepen their understanding of the course content. We want them to develop themselves as citizens of our community. And we're going to dive deeper into each of these. With this definition in mind, the Civic and Community Engagement Office staff researched several different taxonomies to represent quality components of a community experience. We decided to look at student learning outcomes. This one was adapted from an IUPUI taxonomy for service learning courses. We put community experience in the middle because, of course, that's the most important piece that all of these components surround. We have reciprocal partnerships, civic responsibilities, respect for differences, and critical reflection. This slide represents what we did with the student learning outcomes, and it can be a little overwhelming when you first look at it, but we're going to break it down in other videos as we continue to talk about each one of the critical components. So for example, in reciprocal partnerships, which you can see at the top of the square with moving arrows towards the center, this represents that you could move towards quality community engagement, where you can deepen the experience. In most taxonomies, they represent a teaching point of view. This is what the faculty member needs to do. Instead, we wanted to take it from a student learning outcome point of view. So if you look at just the orange component, you'll see where it moves from a lighter shade to a deeper shade, and that represents the deepening of the experience. So you would look at these components and see which student learning outcome works best for your particular course and your particular group of students. The components can change from semester to semester, and each one can be different. You could be at the lightest shade for one component and the deepest shade for another. In the next module, We are going to get deeper into service learning and community-engaged learning. However, before we end this video, we'd like to leave you with 3 questions to see if you've encapsulated the learning that we intended to bring along in this workshop. We hope that you will reflect on these questions. Why is service learning and other forms of community-engaged learning a high-impact practice? Can you explain the difference between service learning internships and volunteering? What are the 4 quality components of community-engaged learning as we outlined in the taxonomy? Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Please continue on to the next video in the series.